You've done an analysis of walls. Are there any lies that Donald Trump tells that you are disturbed by?
I don't want any politician to lie ever. I wish they would all tell the truth all the time.
That was a Kamala Harris evasion. What is a lie that Donald Trump
Look, first of all, I don't answer to you, and I don't answer to you. That's number one. Number two, it is my sincere. Well, I don't answer to these two guys.
So it wouldn't be Scott Jennings if he wasn't getting triggered for Donald Trump saying something that we all know he shouldn't have said. Now, how did we get here? Before we even get deep dive in this, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Come on, be friends with the channel. And let's get into this. Okay, so warning now, we're going to have to watch the entire clip. It's about 6 minutes so we can see how Scott Jennings got to where he was with putting his finger all up into Michael Dyson's face. Not the best look, especially when you're trying to justify somebody saying that people are having bad genes in the country.
A lot of it's about the genes, isn't it? Don't you believe? The racehorse theory, you think was so different? You know, I believe in the racehorse theory. Fast horses produce fast horses.
But I digress. Let's go ahead and get into this.
Obsessed with the genetic composition of the murderers and the violent people who are in the country. We do have 13,000 murderers here. We have even more people here who've committed sexual crimes, violent sexual crimes.
What about the genetic composition of murderers here in the United States who are American citizens? What should we do about that?
Fine. I think it's perfectly fine to acknowledge that there is a long body of research, that there are some people who are genetically predisposed to violence. But today, there has been an effort to make it seem like Donald Trump is saying something about immigrants when all he is commenting on are the violent murderers who are in the country. It's simply not true what's being said about him today. And I can't believe, honestly, what I'm hearing. I've seen people all day long attacking Trump because he's worried that we have 13,000 violent murderers.
But he's calling attention. There are white people in this country who are committing far more murders than immigrants and other Americans.
There's also white immigrants in the country,
too. The point is that Donald Trump is a white supremacist. He is generating nativist language to appeal to genetic basis of behavior. That is a classic definition of what we mean by white supremacy.
When I talk about why does he keep doing this, it's because this is not the only time he's talked about this. He has said broadly that immigrants are poisoning the blood of this country. So that has also happened.
That's literally a white supremacist trope, by the way.
What Eric Dyson is getting to is extremely true. Like, when he came after immigrants, he didn't come after the wider immigrants that are coming from Europe. He came for Venezuelans. He came from Haitians, saying that they were eating the cats and the dogs. We all remember that. But just in case you didn't, play the clip.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Like, Donald Trump has been shown to have a disdain towards people of a darker skin. We've all seen this with Central Park 5. So I don't understand why it is so hard for them to wrap their head around the idea that Donald Trump is doing what people who are of a lighter skin do at sometimes, which is dog whistle. Donald Trump has been dog whistling ever since Kamala Harris has gotten into this race. He's come after her race. He's come after the Haitian immigrants that are in the country in Springfield that are actually doing jobs in a city that was literally losing its population by the handful. But of course, Scott Jennings is not going to admit that Donald Trump is doing dog whistles. Donald Trump is coming after these people. He's wanting to say, well, now there is evidence that there are genetic differences in people that murder. Are you serious right now? Like, he's even misrepresenting the data that was giving, that showed like there's 13,000 people that might have committed crimes of different segments. Because guess what? The data that he's trying to use to make this talking point has already been reanalyzed. Like, this is a clip literally from Fox News off of Fox and Friends, where they literally talk about how this data that he's trying to talk about are for immigrants that have been in this country for a long period of time. This isn't just the Biden-Harris administration. This is Donald Trump's administration, the Obama administration. I think it might even go to the Bush administration and further behind that.
We've been talking about those numbers for a while. The former president was on Truth Social over the weekend and made speeches as well. And he referred to how there were like 13 or 14,000 convicted murderers in the country. And that got some pushback from the Department of Homeland Security in the last 24 hours. But we want to tell you a little about these non-detained, non-citizen convicted criminals. These are people who were convicted of homicide, who are or were currently are in the United States. As you can see right there, according to ICE, the number is 13,000 convicted of homicide, 15,000 convicted of sexual assault. The total illegal criminals in the United States is at 425,000.
Convicted of crimes.
Right, exactly. So here, when I saw that number, I thought, how is that possible? Well, as it turns out, a lot of the people have been in the country for decades. And a lot of the people who were convicted of murder committed it here in the United States. The problem is, because they're still in the United States, is a lot of them are from countries where it's like, okay, person is from Russia, we're going to send them back to Russia. Oh, Russia won't take them. They're stuck here. And so that's why that is such a big, jaw-dropping number.
So it took over decades. And the numbers are stunning, but it happened over decades. So the DHS wanted to qualify it after they gave Congressman Gonzalez this information on Friday. Said the data in the letter is being misinterpreted. The data goes back decades. It includes individuals who entered the country over the past 40 years, the vast majority whose custody determination was made long before Biden took over. It also includes many who are under the jurisdiction of currently incarcerated federal local partners.
So, miss me with all that BS, Scott Jennings. But let's keep on going.
But I mean, you can't explain that away.
I think what Scott is saying is absolutely accurate when it comes to this being very unfair. There have been many cases when I'm on your show and other shows, and I will call out when I think it's wrong. But in this case, I don't think that's what he was saying. This goes back to that nature versus nurture debate. This has nothing to do with race. I don't care whether it's a white person, a black person, an immigrant, an American. Somebody who kills somebody may actually have bad genes, and that's been studied for many, many years. We don't want people murdering people in this country. I don't care whether they are born here or they come from somewhere else. And we certainly, when we already have crime problem in our country with people who are born here, we don't want 13,000 murders. We don't want over 400,000 convicted criminals coming to this country and staying here for decades, because as we all know, we have a broken immigration system in which we have a court backlog that extends up to a decade, maybe more.
About people who are here.
Surely everyone at this table knows that the rate of immigrant crime is actually lower than the rate of crime by U.S.
So you're okay with 13,000 murderers being in the country because of the rate of crime?
That's not really how it works.
I'm not okay with
Hang on a second. Hang on a second, Jay, because I'll let you continue. But I just have to address, look, that number, it's wildly misleading to suggest that is a number that references a small period of time. That is like over the course of many decades.
I don't think anybody at this table talked about the reference of time. The fact is they're here. And if they've been here for decades, that's even worse.
13,000 people
it's other violent crimes.
were
But what y'all are missing is that you're
convicted,
not
who were
paying
incarcerated
attention.
over the course of decades is not a sign that there is any greater incidence of crime.
Well, considering that we've seen the numbers quadruple of the people coming in, we may not
What
be
about
able
the people
to.
here? This is my point. What about the genetic makeup of people who are already
I
in
have a
America
problem with that
who are
too.
doing that?
And guess what?
why
We
is
don't
it-
want them
but wait a
here
minute. Why isn't
out
it
in the
pointed
streets
to?
free
Why isn't
either.
it articulated? Why isn't it repeated?
Because
Why
he's
isn't it
talking
made the basis
specifically about the
for his
open
argument?
border. He's not
Because
talking
he's
about
not
murder
murdering
in general.
A moment ago, you said he wasn't talking about immigration. Now you're saying he is talking about immigration. The fact is,
He's
he is
asking why we're
lying.
not talking
He got
about
asked
other
about
criminals.
immigration.
He got asked
He got
about
asked a question
immigration.
about it. The
You
reason he
know,
was talking
Scott,
about
you
it.
know
Scott,
full
he got
well
asked
that
about
he
it.
has
We said he's
repeated
not
this
talking
lie
about a specific
for
Guys,
8
one at a
years.
time, please.
He has
Thank
repeated
you.
this lie for 8 years, that immigrants are in some way more prone to criminality, that they're less human, that they have bad blood, that they have bad genetics. I don't understand how you can mince words around the racist nature of
He's
that.
not
He
saying
was
all
asked about.
immigrants, and
He
he's
said.
not racist.
He
His
said
wife's
when
an
he came
immigrant.
down the elevator, he said that Mexico was sending their rapists and their murderers. They're sending people
And these
who are
stats would tell
seeking
us that a lot of
economic
rapists and murderers have
at
gotten
a
here.
lower rate than natural born
you're-
So
citizens.
you're okay with them if it's a lower rate? That's the most ridiculous
I'm
thing I've
okay.
ever heard.
I don't
We
want to
want rapists and
scapegoat
murderers
immigrants.
here. It's
I
not a
don't-
scapegoat.
Well,
We
we
don't.
are
If it's
scapegoating
preventable,
immigrants.
if it's preventable that people come across the
senator
border.
get in here. Go ahead, Al.
Former Republican spokesperson, she comes up and says, well, of course we don't want people here that have committed crime, which is true. Nobody wants people here that has committed crime. But guess what? There are people everywhere that has committed crime. There's people everywhere that has done violent crime. That is just not something that is only happening in America. This is happening in all countries. But not even trying to drill down on that point. They're trying to do what Republicans do and trying to explain what Donald Trump really meant when we all heard what he said. Donald Trump is using dog whistles and tropes. And he is specifically coming after darker skinned immigrants. They like to say, well, there are white immigrants. Yes, we know there are white immigrants, but guess what? He's not calling out people from Europe. He's specifically saying people that are in Venezuela. He's specifically saying people that are in Haiti. He's specifically calling out people that were in the Congo. He's specifically targeting darker skinned immigrants. And then to add further insult to injury, they are trying to whitewash it and seem like everybody else on the panel does not understand what they're talking about. Like, did you see Abby's face? She was like, are you serious right now? This is the route you want to take right now with this entire conversation. Not to mention, finally somebody mentioned, this is decades, so this is even further than what I was saying initially in the video. This is decades of data, from decades and decades ago. But of course, they now want to pin all this data because guess what? The Biden-Harris administration actually wanted to have the data. These same number of people were here underneath Donald Trump. These same people were here underneath Bush. These same people were on here underneath Reagan probably. Because it's from decades of information that has been accumulated to this point. Because until the Biden administration, nobody was trying to come up with this decade as far as I know. And if I'm wrong, please put it in the comments. Correct me.
We don't go like, okay, you're a rapist, you're in. You're a rapist, you're okay, come on in. That's not how it works. I mean, these are people who are not brought in knowing that they are rapists. So there is such a thing as it turns out that, and I don't know, and I think Abby's right, this is over decades. And so many of these rapists came in when Donald Trump.
And so why haven't we gotten them out? That's the problem.
Well,
I mean, if some of them have been not only convicted, they've been deported, and they're still roaming the country.
That is not true.
No,
okay?
some of them have been convicted of murder
custody.
outside of their countries. We find out about it later,
Madison,
then they get deported, and they're still roaming the nation.
The numbers that you're referring to,
there are many
those
more white rapists
migrants
in this country than immigrants will ever account for.
Trust me, I don't want any rapists in this
inclination of white men to be seen as the perpetrators of violence that is extraordinary in this country is well documented, but you don't appeal to a genetic basis. This is classic white supremacy, and your justification of it is an extension of that logic.
No one's talking about race. That's the problem.
No.
We're just talking about immigrants with bad genetics and bad blood.
You are absolutely
that
speaking
is what
about
race
race.
We're not
When you
talking
talk
about race. Not all immigrants
when you talk about
are
genetic basis
minority.
of behavior,
Not
what do
every
you say?
immigrant's a minority.
Any
immigrant that commits a crime, we want out of this country. I don't know how we could be arguing about that point right there.
We're talking
hang on
about
a
white
second.
supremacist arguments about genetic.
Hang on a second. Let me
And see, that's what Republicans do. Her name is Madison. Thank goodness. Because I hate to misrepresent people, not know people's names. But her name is Madison. He's completely right. We didn't say that the white people that had black people as slaves were bad genes. We've never said that. No person has ever made that claim. But they're specific, and she loves to say, well, he's not talking about race. He's specifically targeting specific immigrants. He's not talking about European immigrants. He names the ones he's wanting. He said he knows that the Haitians that are here in Springfield are here illegally. He doesn't give a fuck if they're here illegally. He's going to still remove their temporary status so that he can deport them. He's said that. He's come at the Venezuelan immigrants. Specifically, he has come at the immigrants from the Congo. Specifically, you never hear him specifically call out European, more light-skinned immigrants. And that is just a fact. And Al Franken was completely right. We're not having them come through the border saying, oh, you committed a crime. Yeah, you come through. You didn't commit a crime. Okay, nope. You can't come through. That's not how it works. And she wants to talk about, well, why aren't they kicked out? These same murderers and rapists you're upset about, why didn't Donald Trump kick them out? Because guess what? It didn't serve him during his administration to do that. That is the reason why. Because guess what? Then he would have to answer for why are this 400,000 people who have committed violent crime that also happen to be immigrants here? And if you watch Donald Trump, you know what he would say? Probably nothing. Because that's why he didn't make the report to be able to have that information for it. And they love to just pivot. When, no offense, Donald Trump is the one who makes it about race every single time. He doesn't just say immigrants as a whole, and he's whitewashing immigrants as a whole to begin with as being violent people, when we all know statistically they are not. But let's continue on.
Hey, let me just play, just so that people understand. We've been talking about Trump's comments about immigrants over a course of time. He's been talking about this for a while and talking specifically about basically people's genetic makeup of the people who are coming to this country. Listen.
Nobody has any idea where these people are coming from. It's poisoning the blood of our country. They're poisoning the blood of our country. They're poisoning our country. A lot of it's about the genes, isn't it? Don't you believe? The racehorse theory, you think we're so different? You know, I believe in the racehorse theory. Fast horses produce fast horses.
This is an old thing. This is an old that you can identify who's a rapist by their color and by their immigrant status. I think this is offensive.
Exactly right. This is old stereotypes, dog whistles they've been using. Donald Trump said it himself. Oh, the genes is what makes a fast horse makes fast horses. So he's basically saying the genes of these darker skinned immigrants, they have bad genes, so they create and produce criminals. We all know that to be false, but he's perpetrating this stereotype and this idea that bad genes this is the reason why this person is a rapist, and this is the reason why this person is a murderer. That is completely false. And I don't understand how these Republicans on the panel can justify this. And they keep trying to justify it by saying, well, we're talking about immigration. Then they flip up, we're not talking about immigration. What is it? And so then they do start trying to talk about falsehoods on both sides of the campaigns. And this is when the finger pointing incident happens with Eric Dyson. And he then tries to make a reference, I guess, to the entire Nancy Mace situation, which doesn't really hit the way he thinks it does.
You know, I want to resolve this with you putting your finger in my face. Let me finish, sir. Let me finish. You put your finger in my face and you were aggressive and you said you don't answer. Let me ask you a question, though.
I don't.
You don't ask me a question. I thought you told us, Abby, that we all should speak among each other, not wait for you. And if it's all right,
you're going to ask me for my number after the show?
Hang on, Scott and Michael.
Brother, don't start.
In the spirit of conversation at the table, we're gonna keep the conversation at the table. We're not gonna have side chats because it's not helpful.
I'm talking
to what we're talking.
I don't really know where he was going with that, but it shows overall like just how much Republicans have to tie themselves into pencils to get Donald Trump's favor. They love to say, well, he didn't really mean this, he meant that. You shouldn't have to explain every single time your presidential candidate that you have on your top ticket says something. You shouldn't have to, this is what they really mean. But I don't know. What do y'all think, guys? Put it in the comments. Don't forget to, like I said, like, comment, subscribe. If you don't mind, it's free to do. It shares and pushes the channel out to other people that might also enjoy this content. Hope you have a great day, and thank y'all so much for joining me. Bye.